Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered.
Welcome to the GSMC Travel Podcast, brought to you by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Stacey.
And I'm your co-host, Sarah.
And it hit me the other day that we haven't yet actually talked about anything in our own country.
Oh.
Even though it's a kind of actually large country.
And there are many, many, many different parts of it that, it's not like it's homogenous.
I mean, even if I only wanted to do like one thing in each state, I still owe like 50 states, and then depending on whether or not I follow the like Miss America pageant, possibly 51 or 52.
Right.
So
if you go with the territories, yep.
Yeah. But I remember when I was in college, a professor asked a question, and I think I might have mentioned this. So I'm not quite sure why he asked this question, because he was teaching a city planning class. So I'm not quite sure what this had to do with it. But he asked people to put their hands up if they had been to a foreign city. And it was about 3/4 of the class put their hands up.
Okay.
And then he asked people to put their hands up if they had been to Washington, D.C. And it was only about half.
Oh, wow.
And he was making some point about how people are generally more likely to go off and see foreign places than their own.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I'm not quite sure what that had to do with city planning.
Right. I actually know someone who very much wants to go to Europe, but he gets frustrated with people who only want to see, Europe, but they think that their own country is not worth visiting. So it's his goal to make it to all 50 states before he ever goes to Europe. I think he's got 2 left.
I remember seeing that on some news about like a couple who was going around to all 50 states, and like they got a t-shirt in each state. And
my parents traveled to all 50 states, and all I got was these 50 crappy t-shirts.
But as when we're recording this, we're coming up on summer. For some odd reason, even though I've never been there, summer always makes me think of Yosemite and the national parks.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't want to go to Yosemite in the summer because I feel like everybody, in the same way everyone goes to Europe.
Right.
Everyone goes to Yosemite in the summer. I refuse.
Right.
Though I don't feel the need to go to all 50 states before going to Yosemite. So instead, I just happened to be looking at national parks in America. Mm-hmm. And came across Mesa Verde in Colorado.
Okay. That is one I haven't been to.
So Colorado, which still, it's one of those middle states that I would totally struggle to like name if you just gave me a blank map.
Really? I can do all the western states, no problem. It's when you get on the teeny tiny East Coast states that I have a little more trouble, but
I can do the West Coast and then Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico because I can sort of do that. And then I can sort of do the outline except for the Canada outline. I can go along the south and I get a little confused on like I switch Alabama and Georgia. And then, yeah, the teeny tiny New England states. That one's Massachusetts, and I think that one's Rhode Island, and that one's clearly me, and I've got nothing else. I've only got like 3 of them, and then the rest I'm like, one of you is Vermont, and I don't know. But yeah, the ones in the middle, the ones that all came from like land grants or whatever, nothing. God, I'm super confused about all of them. So Colorado, I think, is next to Nevada. It's a squarish
It's a squarish shape, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it has the highest peaks of the Rocky Mountains. Mm-hmm. And they actually split Colorado down the middle, north to south, which really affects the sort of weather there.
Oh, the mountains. I was like, they who split? Okay, the mountains split. Yes.
The people who did the land grants. Thomas Jefferson. No, I don't. Colorado probably was from the Mexican. I don't know. My whole history that I've completely forgotten because school was so worth it.
Colorado, wouldn't that have been in the Northwest Territory?
Would it? I thought it would have been like from the Mexican-American War.
Louisiana Purchase.
See, again, I don't know.
I know Montana was in that whole section because the Lewis and Clark expedition.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then so Washington, too. We're off on a tangent. But yeah, I remember I did a whole thing on Sacagawea when I was in 4th grade and was really fascinated by her. And also, like, horribly infuriated on her behalf.
Well, right.
But that is a totally different topic. Mm-hmm. So we'll stay off that and get back to Colorado. So the mountains split Colorado down the middle. The mountains do. Those terrible mountains. They're always fighting. But this mountainy barrier, whatever, affects the rainfall. Mm-hmm. So rain falling on the west makes its way to the Pacific Ocean, and rain on the east makes its way to the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean. Mm-hmm. And for some odd reason, I've now got like Hatfields and McCoys in my head, even though they're not from Colorado.
You know, I don't know why it surprised me, but when I drove through Colorado for the first time, it was in eastern Colorado, which is very flat. And I don't know why this surprised me because I'm from Montana, and western Montana has the mountains, and eastern Montana is very flat, and Colorado is the same thing. So when I think of Colorado, I tend to just think of mountains, but it's not. It's, so I don't know why that surprised me, but it did.
Yes. So Colorado actually, even though the part you went through is flat, does actually have a number of mountains, including 54 mountain peaks above 14,000 feet, which are called 14ers.
Yes.
Which is an interesting term. Well, if you didn't know what it was and you just heard someone say 14ers.
Yeah, no, it sounds
like, do you mean for teenagers?
Right.
Do you not know how to say
Right.
What? Yeah. So in 1858, gold was discovered at the mouth of Dry Creek in present-day Denver area of Inglewood, which triggered Pikes Peak or bust, the gold rush of 1858 to 1859. Approximately 50,000 people immigrated to Colorado, creating the first large-scale permanent settlements. Because before that, it was actually through the Louisiana Purchase. I was wrong. But before that, it was just sort of a, hey, we got all this land, and yeah. I know I learned about Louisiana Purchase, but I don't remember what was the purpose other than we think it might one day be useful.
Well, yeah, but I mean, because I'm from Montana and Lewis and Clark went through there, we learned, that.
Yeah. I mean, I know we wanted a waterway, but.
Right. My Louisiana Purchase is all tied into Lewis and Clark's expedition because we studied that so much.
But all the rest of the land.
Total tangent. I even made a board game in my gifted and talented class in 4th grade about the Lewis and Clark expedition.
Was it like the Oregon Trail where everyone died of dysentery?
The Oregon Trail didn't exist yet. Thank you very much. I'm old, remember?
Wait, you didn't have the Oregon Trail? Really?
Not yet.
Oh, wow. Because when I was in school, those were on the big floppy disks that were on the quote unquote old computers. Because we already had the CD-ROM computers by then. We were
floppy disks
upgraded.
were when I was in high school.
Wow.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Anyway, I made my own board game. Poster board.
Aww.
Anyway.
Sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel old.
It's all good.
But in 1876, Colorado was admitted as the 38th state and was called the Centennial State in honor of the 100th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence.
Oh.
So, not bad, even though it's just a boring square. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm from California that, like, all the ones that were from land purchases and then just divided for no reason. I'm like, that is so boring.
But when they're square, then you get the four corners. So you can have each, your 2 hands and 2 feet in different states.
But then you don't get the, like, really random things of, following a river or having Kansas City in 2 states.
Well, yeah, there's that.
You're square and boring. You're literally square. I apologize to all the square states in the United States.
Don't send us evil emails.
I've never been there.
Address them to Stacey.
I've never been there, including to the Four Corners, even though I wanted to when I was in Santa Fe. And just didn't, because driving from Albuquerque to Santa Fe, I was like, okay, nope, done. Seen the desert, done. Don't want to drive anywhere else. I want to drive back to Albuquerque so I can fly the heck out of here. I'd like to see the Four Corners, but I refuse to drive there.
Wow.
So yeah, all the states in the middle, I haven't really been to unless it was on a layover. So I clearly don't know the awesomeness that is all of them, and I apologize. But anyways, Colorado, as most of our country, if not every state of our country, before it was quote unquote discovered, had native people. Mm-hmm. The Pueblo, Arapaho, Apache, Cheyenne, Comanche, Kiowa, Shoshone, and I'm going to go with Utes, but I actually have no idea how to pronounce that last one.
How's it spelled?
Utes. Utes? Utes?
Utes?
That's the only one I have not heard of before.
I've heard of it, but I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
But
thank you for pronouncing Shoshone mostly correctly, Shoshone, and not Shoshone, which I worked for a guy who was working with the tribe, and he kept calling them the Shoshone, and I was like,
fail.
They're not gonna like you if you don't pronounce their name right.
Right, absolute fail. But yes, all of those different peoples called Colorado home. So we're going to take a short break, and then when we come back, we will be talking about Mesa Verde National Park. So stay tuned.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. Jordan and Keith is Entertainment Tonight meets Access Hollywood.
I'm Jordan. The guy laughing, that's Keith.
Yeah, I'm Keith.
An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Welcome back to the GSMC Travel Podcast. Today we are talking about Mesa Verde National Park in Colorado.
Which neither of us have been to, but
haven't.
What national parks have you been to? Have you been to?
I feel I have, and yet I can't think of what they would be. I know I've definitely been to at least them for the day, and that I saw the sign, and there was a campground. I have no idea.
Well, I grew up 2 hours from Glacier, so I've been to Glacier National Park approximately 1 million times. I've been to Yellowstone. And on a family vacation one year in June, we tried to go to Zion, but there was a snowstorm, and the sign was covered over in snow, so we missed the turnoff.
Oh,
Yeah, June, snowstorm. Good times.
yeah. My family's not really outdoorsy, campy, nor are they a road trippy type of family vacation sort of thing. So yeah, we didn't really do any of that.
Not so much.
I don't know how that happened. I feel very left out, and I want to at least go to I can see it in my head, and now Mount Rushmore, because my mother used to live in one of the Dakotas. I don't remember.
There's only 2 of them.
Oh my gosh.
And they're kind of square. When I see why you don't like I get it. Mm-hmm.
Well, she didn't like it because she went out for track, but it was snowing in whichever Dakota she was in, and when they were training. And now, since we're on random things, you're making me think of an episode of Fairly Odd Parents where he made it so everything he said is true, and so the teacher asked him how many states are there, and he's like 49. He's like, that's wrong. And then you hear this voice, which I'm pretty sure is that one Minnesota, I think she's from Minnesota, or Wisconsin lady who played the assistant for Ferris Bueller in the principal's office.
Yeah.
You know her? Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure it's her voice. She comes over, it's like, the 2 Dakotas have decided to settle their problems to become one big Dakota. And it's just like, yes, okay. Yeah.
Mesa Verde.
Yeah, we're not even in those states, sorry. But Mesa Verde, which is Spanish for green table, which I totally would have known a few years ago when I was taking Spanish, but somehow didn't hit my mind here. I got the Verde part, and then I just, for some odd reason, could not remember what Mesa meant at all. Fail. 3 years of Spanish, fail. But that name is referring...
I didn't even take Spanish, and I knew that.
Yeah, well, you're old. Oregon Trail. Play the Oregon Trail.
Fine, okay.
But the name refers to the vegetation found at the tops of the plateaus in the area. It's technically open year-round, but many of the services are only offered from April through October. Mm-hmm. I think has to do with the mountains.
Probably
the Hatfield-McCoy Mountains.
Yes.
It's when they're fighting. It's like the lightning and thunderstorm thing. It's when they're fighting, you're not allowed to go.
Well, please do not come to this podcast for factual...
I am giving you facts. I'm just also choosing to give you random things that aren't necessarily facts.
Yes.
So the only places open year-round at Mesa Verde are the central part of the Chapin Mesa, the museum, the Spruce Tree Terrace restaurant, and Spruce Tree House. But the thing that really interests me about Mesa Verde is it's got those stone towns sort of carved into the walls of I'm not describing it well at all, but I know you've probably seen the pictures of them where it looks like a stone town built under a cliff almost.
Right. So it was like ancient apartment complex almost.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So evidently
would that be the Pueblo?
Yes, the Pueblo.
Yes.
Pueblo. So around the year 1200, the ancestral Puebloans, which I didn't know was the term, but okay, began to move under overhangs found in the cliffs of canyons. There they built cities with multi-storied structures that housed anywhere from 100 to 400 people. But then we're not quite sure why, after give or take 100 or so years, they left. And we're not quite sure why. And they ended up like traveling more into New Mexico and Arizona, but because these things, were stone,
right? They're
still standing there, even though we can't quite figure out what happened. That you were like, we're out.
But still, it's pretty amazing that they built those by hand.
Yes,
with no power tools, obviously. No,
right.
No. Not. I'm not saying no tools, but no modern tools.
Yes.
So,
well,
wow.
When I was looking at them, they reminded me, and I don't think they're necessarily the same person, although they both do, I believe, have kivas. They reminded me of, and I'm completely blanking now on the name, of the tribe that has kachinas and does the race the gods to bring in water thing. And I think that's partly why they're under the cliff hangs, is because this is kind of technically desertish and, not fun to... I just hate the desert.
Wow.
I apologize to including Californians who live in the desert areas. I was in it for a year and a half and I just never got...
17 minutes in, you've offended people in square states and people who live in the desert. Good job.
But I really like the North California. Well, I really like the Bay Area of California. Bay Area people, you're awesome. Also, the New England people whose names I can't, figure out, you're kind of okay too.
You're kind of okay. Not really sure.
Yeah. Well, don't take it as if I can't understand your state, that means anything. Because again, I can only safely name maybe about 6 if you gave me a blank map without even the state outlines to be able to place them. I've done that quiz online before and I only really got about 5 or 6 correct. And then I was like, this is somewhere in this general, quarter of the map. That's all I've got. So yeah, my clearly never been to any of these. My sense of America is very flawed. I do apologize. But anyways, because this is part of the national park, you can now see these different, I'm going to call them cliff houses, even though cliff house is something totally different. And there's several of them. So Mesa Verde, the national park, is actually really large. And they make a point, when I was looking it up several times on the site, to warn you that there's only the one gas station, which is at the entrance of the park. And you have to drive a lot of places, even to get to the main sites. So make sure, A, your car is in good condition, and B, you have enough gas.
Wow, you'd think that they would,
have another gas station somewhere.
So, yeah.
Well, they have a gas station in the park, so you can theoretically have a second one.
Right, but is it in the park or is it right on the edge of the park? Because
I believe it's right inside.
Like,
I don't know.
For Glacier, there's the park, and then there's right outside the park where there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So it's in the park. It's located at the Moorfield Campground, but there are a number of campgrounds, and the Moorfield Campground is almost as far away from the cliff houses as you can kind of get.
Interesting.
So it's like, hey, definitely fill up the gas and then drive along this road until you get there.
Take some backup gas cans with you. Yeah.
So,
hey, I've also been to the Grand Canyon. That's a national park. I just thought I'd throw that on there. Trying to remember national parks that I've been to.
You just want to shame me. Is that it?
No. I'm old. I have no memory. So when I think of things, I have to yell them out.
I now want to play Orphan Trail. I really do. Although I didn't actually die of dysentery that much. I generally died of starvation or drowning for some reason. And because they were on the quote unquote old computers, I actually liked we had Schoolhouse Rock games on CD-ROM, which I'm sure is completely telling my age because those only existed for a certain period of time. But I really liked the, I think it's Haywire House on the Science Rocks game, and now I want to go back to elementary school when things were simpler.
Oh, I love Schoolhouse Rock. My mom has all of the Schoolhouse Rocks on VHS.
Well, here's the thing. At that time, I had never seen the show.
Oh, wow.
We had the CD-ROMs in the school computer room, and we all had to go and play them. That was like part of our thing. Okay, the whole class goes to the computer room for 45 minutes, and today we're doing grammar rocks or history rocks or whatever. But yeah, I knew there was a show, but I had never seen it. So yeah, my
Saturday mornings.
I know some things and then don't know anything at all.
Which has absolutely nothing to do with Mesa Verde National Park.
It really doesn't. But yeah, so you have to drive quite a bit, but when you get to the places where the houses are located, you can take tours, but some of those tours, once you've driven all this way, can actually be very physically exhausting. There's one where you do actually like climb up a ladder and then crawl through a small hole to get to something. So if you're not in the best physical shape, maybe don't do that one.
Right. Or if you have, any kind of, well, if you have a fear of heights, probably not, but also, balance issues or all kinds of things you should consider.
Yes. There are some of the, I'm still just calling them cliff houses, that you can see from like places you can drive to, but it's this long sort of loop around that you can drive along this loop and you get to this sort of overlook and you can see the cliff from like all those pretty places that, the postcards come from, where you see the whole village, town, whatever have you. But then if you want to get up close and personal, you have to do a guided tour, usually.
Interesting. I do want to get up close and personal. I think that would be fascinating.
Yes. But the tours, because these are the main attraction, the tours tend to fill up fast.
Sure.
Especially in the summer. And there's this complicated thing about, because you're entering from here, but the houses are way down here, you have to make sure to come on time. And you can buy your tickets at a few different places, but then you still have to account for the driving time.
Right.
So it's a very cool looking site. I tend to, I'm on a thing of like, let's not go anywhere modern or cool because I'm feeling very cynical and people suck. So I want to pretend it's an ancient time because, of course, people sucked less then. That's how it always was, right?
They can still be ancient and cool, right?
Yes, exactly. They're only can be cool if they're ancient.
Okay, because you said modern and cool, like, only cool things,
like,
modern things are cool.
But I mean, like, in that whole of, back in my day, whatever. Back in my day when things were good.
Can I just say that Stacey's not even 30?
Back in my day when Schoolhouse Rock was on CD-ROM.
Channeling her 80-year-old self, and she's about to tell you to get off her lawn.
I really do want to. Can I get like the senior discount? But yeah, no, I like to go to old places and pretend I'm in olden times when we all like to romanticize and pretend things were simpler, even though, of course, they probably weren't. But yeah, so it might be a while before I go to anything where it's like, oh yes, this beautiful modern museum that's very modernist and contemporary and was only built like 2 years ago. It might take a while.
I'm just thinking, where are we going to find your imaginary lover at Mesa Verde? Will it be not only imaginary, but also the ghost of someone who lived in in the dwellings?
Maybe. Or like if I do that tour that climbs up the ladder and crawls through the hole, and then I crawl through the hole and it's a whole new... I've entered like another dimension,
a vortex or something. Yeah. This sounds like a paranormal romance-y charade.
No, but I'm loving how my imagination has now gone beyond imaginary lovers to we're not even in the same realm. We're in totally imaginary realms now.
Yep. Or, dead people.
On that note, we're going to take another break and we'll be back. Stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Travel Podcast. Our tip for today, which is kind of interesting since Mesa Verde is a national park and so it has campgrounds, because our tip is about hotels.
Oh.
So, not exactly
You're not
connected.
a camper, are you? You already said that, that's why.
What, you mean there aren't hotels at campgrounds? Where do you go to the bathroom?
Yes, it's called an RV.
But yeah, no, this is actually continuing sort of like a part 2 of the tip from last episode, which is why I'm saying it now and not because it really has anything to do with Mesa Verde, which is about hotels and rooms and getting a better room. Mm-hmm. So last time we talked about ask for a corner room if you want a bigger room. This tip is also ask for a room on a higher floor because the premium rooms at hotels tend to be on higher floors. Mm-hmm. So I guess you can give some sort of... Well, I don't know that you could do this in Mesa Verde because I doubt it would be the case. But maybe in like Vegas, be like, I don't like the noise. Can I be higher up? Mm-hmm. Mesa Verde, be like, I don't like the Pueblo ghosts. But I want to see the Pueblo ghosts, so that doesn't work for me.
That doesn't work for you. No.
It doesn't.
No.
But anyways, our site for today is Turo.com. And this one I did choose with Mesa Verde in mind because Turo.com is... I saw someone describe it sort of as like an Airbnb for cars.
Okay.
You can rent cars from locals.
Oh, that...
So
why does that freak me out more than actual Airbnb? I don't know that I want to loan my car to someone or that I want to borrow someone's car. I don't know why that's freaking me out. That's weird.
I don't know why that's freaking you out either. Because
maybe I'd just be so nervous that, I mean, if I stay in someone's guest house or whatever it is, I'm not worried about running that guest house into a tree.
That's what you're concerned about? Because my concern with Airbnb is I'm very vulnerable while I'm sleeping and I'm in the house.
Well, no, there's that. Yeah, but no, I'm just saying you borrow someone's car and then you hit a patch of black ice.
Right.
And
no, I'm sure the whole there's requirements.
There's got to be some massive insurance requirements.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's really cool if you're like, I don't want to, pay for Uber and Lyft every time I want to go somewhere.
Right.
It would be much easier, especially at like Mesa Verde, where the gas station is at one end of the park and the stuff is at the other, to be like, hey, yeah, so it'd be much easier if I just had a car I could drive, but since I'm not from here, I don't necessarily want to pay for the rental car. Hey, how about just a local person? And the local people can they decide what times their cars are available, whatever, and they put that on the site. And then you can be like, okay, cool, I want this car for this day or whatever, from 6 to 8 or what have you. And the thing that throws me off about this is you can have just sort of regular get around cars, but then they also have some specialty cars on there. And that's where I'm like, are you really letting random people drive your really nice, 1958, whatever? Why? I don't even care about cars, but why?
Well, and that's the other thing. I know I've talked to people about how they treat rental cars. You should never buy a car that used to be a rental car because people drive them. They drive them badly because they're rental cars. Oh yeah, I've talked to people that are like, oh yeah, when I drive a rental car, I drive fast. I don't, I do everything you're not supposed to do when you're driving. I treat it like crap because it's a rental. Yeah.
See, I'm the opposite because that's not the car I have insurance on. So
right. No, they're like, nope, we drive the crap out of that thing and then we take it back. So don't ever buy a car. That's my tip for the day. Not about travel, but don't ever buy a car that used to be a rental car.
Yeah. But no, the specialty cars thing throws me off because I remember...
Yeah, why would you do that?
watching Shawshank Redemption on, I want to say it was whatever that channel is that sometimes would do the random facts that come up at the bottom of the screen, AMC or one of those. But they had it where at the end where Andy's driving the red convertible and how it's supposed to be a certain year because this movie is set in a certain year and the car is actually like a year or two newer than that because
it's a future car.
It is because the car they had originally agreed to, rent for the day, the owner got too nervous and backed out, and so they had to find a replacement real quick. Which would be again my thing. I've got this really nice, restored older car,
right?
And again, I don't care about cars, but if I did care about cars enough to put in all the money and time and effort for that really nice car, the heck if I'm letting anybody else drive it?
Well, yeah.
Like, why would I always wonder about that. And here, I believe it's actually held in Nevada, but we have Hot August nights where they have all the fancy older cars. And I'm just like, but why are you taking that on the road? Like,
Well, no, I mean, it's not your everyday car, but you drive it on the weekends.
No, like, or if I happen to see a really old car on the freeway, I'm just like, what are you doing? No, people don't drive well at all. Why are you taking the nice car anywhere beyond, like, just around the block to keep it in good shape? What are you doing? And again, I don't care about cars.
But clearly you do.
I care about
a little bit.
Wasted effort. I'll go with that.
Okay, let's go with that.
But yeah, so site for today, Turo.com, which because Mesa Verde is really sort of in the bottom left corner of the square that is Colorado, you would kind of have to. I looked in Mesa Verde, there wasn't any car because you'd have to like get one from Denver.
So that would be the Southwest.
It's a square. I can only visualize it as a square. Although, again, I had a layover in Denver and I really liked it for the layover I was there. But
yeah, you can't judge a state by its airport.
You really can't.
No.
But yeah, like you'd have to get it from a bigger city. So it's about the same as, Airbnb. You've got a better chance where there's more people and not really off in the random bottom left corner.
Bottom left corner.
And on that, I really don't mean to, Colorado people. I apologize. I greatly, greatly apologize. On that note, we're going to end for today. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Travel Podcast.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From travel to health and wellness to entertainment and life and happiness to sex and relationships. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast.